BEEX project is a no-profit foundation about visual art and photography. If you want to help us, just drop a donation on buymeacoffee.com/BerlinExplorer. Hey everyone, and welcome again to 50 Minutes of Experience. Today I'm with Adrin André from Ecuador, a photographer I discovered on lomography, and his pictures are so particular and interesting, but let's talk with him. Welcome to this podcast.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here talking with you.
You're really welcome. So the podcast is about experience, so we are pretty free to talk about what are the experience you have got during the time with photography. But to just go a bit more deep and diving in your story, first will be amazing if you tell something about you and when you did start to take picture.
Okay, I started taking pictures like maybe like I will not say professionally, but like more into it like 5 years ago. But since I was a kid, I will have like a video camera with me, and I will record like stuff that happened with my friends and that. Occasionally, I will take pictures. But like from maybe 2016, I started to take it more seriously, and also I discovered like filmography. I discovered film photography. Previously, I was just using digital cameras, and maybe that was like the new the new appeal for me for photography, to use film. And since then, I've been experiencing and learning until now. I still take film photos, and I prefer it over digital photos because I don't know, the process, like the textures you get, the colors, everything is very interesting for me. I prefer it. Maybe the genre that I do is like diarism, like street photography, documentary photography. I'm not that into like um, portrait photography or landscape photography, even though I rarely do it, but I think like I associate with the documentary genre.
Yeah, you are more interested in documentary, as I see now on your website,
Yeah.
and experimental photography. I really like that work you have in the section
Exactly.
in the section of publication. It's really interesting. How do you work with the instant cameras also, and the series of frame, the chemical, the writing on the picture. It's really, really, really interesting. But also your black and white pictures of the street and documentary are also really particular. And I would love to know more about what was the beginning and then the experience you had during this project. You did Grand Exitos Observables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like um, an experimentation on a publication. Like it was like a scene, a photo scene, but it was also like single pictures. It was not a book. It was more like like an envelope with photos. It looked like a collection, a photo collection. So I was interested in exploring that kind of alternative publication. And the photos in that publication were like almost like the last photos that I really liked in 2019. I think before the pandemic. I think the last photo I took, which was like there is one of a head of a man which has a star in it, and that was like the last photo I took in 2019 that I really liked. So yeah, it's like a, a compilation of like I believe it's like um, a new space inside my photography, because before I was doing like more street photography things, which was more like in your face, more like weird things happening in the streets, you know, the common photography. And I experimented like a new approach in my photography, and new themes and new subjects, new maybe objects too, and that was the publication. It's like a new direction in my photography, which is more I don't know. It's more quiet. It's still documentary photography. It still happens in the streets, but it's more quiet, more introverted. I don't know, maybe. And I think that's like the real, uh, my real voice, maybe for now. Yeah, or
Well,
maybe, or
this
well,
is
in 2020.
this is interesting because you are using many different tools to express yourself as music, video, writing, and I think also installation in this case. And um, that's the point. You define yourself more in photography as other tools, or I don't know. Probably photography take not all of this space. I mean, in which way photography define yourself?
Um, yeah, I think you're right. I think photography takes a lot of maybe creative space or creative force from me. Uh, but I started filmmaking. I just finished university last year, 2020. Um, and also cinema and documentary films, experimental films. They also take like a part from me. Like though those two, like filmmaking and photography, are like the main outlets for my creativity. uh, but I will admit that photography is very low for me. I prefer it. I prefer photography. Yeah, but like you said, uh, even before photography, before filmmaking, uh, I made music, but now it's like a very far practice, because I don't know, music, like cinema also, is like a, a people's practice. Like you need more people to have like a good project, maybe. And, and working with other people, it's very difficult. So maybe that's one of the reasons that I'm not that involved in music now. Uh, but yeah, those are like the main practice, artistic practice.
Yeah, nice. I understand totally the point of view, and I'm really curious. I was really curious to ask you um, how he's. I mean, you was always living in Ecuador, or did you move somewhere else in the past?
No, I was born and raised here, and I haven't even taken a plane. I have never left Ecuador.
Oh, okay.
But my goal is, yeah, to study abroad now, to maybe do a master's degree,
Yeah.
and I'm in the lookout for that. So yeah, hopefully I will travel.
So, and there is some experience particularly touched you during the years you are taking photography. I mean, photography as just a tool to connect with something or someone. There was an experience in your life that touched you deeply in a way, and you want to tell us.
Mm, I don't think there was like a very specific um, event, but I think it was more like I think the photography or maybe visuals mediums were were go were always like a part of me. Like I was destined to explore those fields because even when I was a kid, I was very, I don't know if you remember a show called Lizzie McGuire. Have you ever watched that?
Yeah.
There was a friend in the group which had like a video camera. I don't know if you remember that, but I was very shocked by it that he was off the camera and recording his friends.
Yeah.
From that point, like I sensed something like, okay, I want to do that. I think that's very cool. And maybe I didn't do it immediately because I was a child. And I remember asking for a video camera to my parents, but they didn't give it to me because in that time you had like the Sony handycams, and they were very expensive in that time. Uh, but that stuck with me, and eventually I did get a camera, a video camera first, then a film photography camera, digital camera, and I worked my way through that, and like having this motivation, like this dream that I had as a kid to do that, and I pursue that. Now I'm here, and maybe a current theme or a thing that I always have in my head when doing photos or when even recording video is that I want to be like 60 years old and watch all the work that I'm doing now, like see how things have changed over time, like fashion, architecture, people, culture, you know. So that's like a main topic that I have in my head all the time. What this will look like in 20, 30 years from now, and be able to see it and know what's the difference.
Yeah, I understand. It's really funny. I was watching at your picture on Instagram, and I have found this list. I mean, we can say this series of picture of announce of dog lost, and it's really funny for me because I have exactly a list, a really big collection of cat lost.
Yeah,
It's so funny that that connection I found with you now, because you have all the dog. I never saw one announce of dog lost here in Berlin or in Italy, but I see only or there are bike or people or cats always, and I have a big collection in black and white of cats. It's really funny that, and I have to ask you, uh, what is the connection you have with this announce? Why you taking picture of that?
um I don't know, maybe I was very attracted to the very amateur graphic design that people use because uh, usually are now we have all the tools, like we have all the information, we have all the like creative tools that before they were not available for everybody, but now everybody can design a poster in Photoshop if you have it in your computer or maybe online. And so I was really attracted to the amateur graphic design that people use, that people do to publish this message of the dogs, and also because I'm a dog people, I'm a dog person. So yeah, sometimes I read the messages, and that also is very important for me because the messages are like very detailed. Like they tell you the name, their diseases. They tell you where they got lost. They tell you what this particular animal mean to them, and I think that's also very. Uh, I love that. So yeah,
Yeah, me too. I love that that announce are always so interesting. Sometimes funny, sometimes cruel.
yeah,
Depends.
sometimes
Uh,
funny. Yeah,
And I was also watching this work he did on Google Street View, and I was asking to myself if you really spent a lot of time watching on Google Street View, if you was finding the right picture, or you emulated in a way with the camera.
No. Those are from Street View. Yeah, that was like my thesis for my filmmaking degree. Like I was going to make uh, a trip, like a real trip on 2020 for my thesis. And COVID hit and the pandemic, and I didn't, um, I wasn't able to do it, you know.
Yeah,
So what I did was to recreate that trip that I was going to make in a Google Street View. And so all the photos, like the photos, you would call it like post photography.
yeah.
Uh, they are all from Google Street View, and I spent a lot of amount of time, maybe I don't know, like total duration for my thesis, like
This
6
is
months.
really funny because I did the same too in the quarantine, and I see a lot of connection we have between our works because they are really similar. They're really similar connection we had also with what we like to discover. Instead of that, I also spend a lot of time watching to find the room without anyone in the campsex. I was spending hours and hours to searching for the rooms that was without anyone in the show of sex.
Yeah.
And,
Do you have a look?
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
find? Yeah.
I did that for I don't know 1 year. I collected the screenshot of room that was empty. So there was sex cam website, and sometimes there is always a room is empty, no one
Yeah.
is there, and there was someone was writing probably, and for me it was really funny, and I started to collect screenshot of that.
Awesome. I like those kind of projects that involve technology and new forms of images that comes from the internet because it's
Yeah,
very interesting. It's very interesting.
yeah, they give
Do you
us
have do you have published it somewhere that project?
what.
Do you have published that project somewhere?
Yeah, I have some stuff. But to come back to our podcast, just the last question, and then we are going to close our podcast. There is something you think uh, is missed in the experience of photography. You will love to do it.
I'm sorry. Can you
There's
ask,
some kind of experience you would love to do it in photography.
like an experiment, a new
Yeah,
experience?
a new feeling, new experience, a new adventure, something new.
Okay.
There is something new you will love to do.
Maybe like what we talked before, that I haven't gone abroad, and I would love to take photos somewhere else that is not my city and my country. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
So
Maybe
I hope I hope someone listening this podcast will fall in love with you in a way or another. You can get an opportunity to go abroad, discover the world.
yeah, because I'm like getting very used to like how things look here in my city, here in my country, and sometimes it's very like boring when you do it after many years. So yeah, I would love to. Maybe I'm going to correct my answer. Maybe I don't want to go abroad to take photos. Maybe I want to see things for the very first time again. To
Yeah,
see a street for the very first time, see a sign with another language for the very first time. Maybe that's what I long for. Yeah.
yeah. I totally understand. I moved out from my country, so then I totally understand what you mean. So thank you a lot, Adrian.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was short, nice, and yeah, for sure I continue to follow you because your work is interesting. I think there is a lot you can say with visual art, and yeah, I hope other people also will follow you because it's really particular and it's kind of research is not usual. And for everyone who want to follow Adrian, I will put in the description the link. And I thank you again.
Thank you for the opportunity. I had fun answering your questions. They were very interesting questions, and I think I got to know myself a little bit better answering your questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Learn more about our project at allmylinks.com/BerlinExplorer or visit our Instagram and follow BerlinExplorer project.